Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you from SideQuest Studios, this is The Simpsons Index, episode 272. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot J. O'Neill, joined here as always, except when he's not, by P.T. Calloway.
God, that's a lot of episodes.
It is. Over 272 podcasts reviewing over 700 episodes of The Simpsons.
Woo!
And once again joining us, returning champion Bea Barbeau-Scurla.
Hello. Yes, I was like, that is crazy how many episodes. I think my eyes popped out of my head just now.
But yeah, that's right. And we used to review, the old ones from over 20 years ago, but look, we caught up. Mm-hmm. So we've just got all the new Drek to get through. And yeah, we're getting ever closer to finishing off season 22. This is our second last episode of that to review. But before we hook into that, B, we like to ask our returning champions, where are you at with The Simpsons at the moment? Have you been checking out any new episodes since our last encounter on the index?
Have you been inspired?
Or have you gone back to some of the classics? What's happening?
Well, yeah, I've actually been going back to the classics, just like, the first maybe 10 seasons or so, which has been nice, like revisiting. And like, you really do forget how many jokes per minute, or even like per half a minute they have. And like, I think that was why... spoilers, but like why watching this episode was really hard, because I've just been watching all of the Golden Age Simpsons stuff, like so used to the snappiness, the interesting stuff, even like, those kind of Bart Heart of Gold episodes and all of that stuff. And yeah, so I feel like part of me is like wanting to kind of really dive into, seasons 20 and above, just to kind of witness it again. But I've told the people close to me that if I do that, they should probably just call a therapist instead.
Does feel like a question a doctor would ask, either for your coughing or just general mental health. Like, how much what era Simpsons have you been watching lately?
Because I was having a bit of a depressive episodes earlier in the year where I'd worked my way through the entirety of American Dad, and it got to the end. Wow. I'm like, oh, I think I'm sad.
Yeah. So the last few episodes I've done with you guys was with Rosie Delaney, and she knows that if I ever start watching How I Met Your Mother again, it's like I'm doing badly.
Yeah.
It's good to have those shows that are like things to worry about.
Everybody, you need to go out and learn your friends and family's red flag shows.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure everyone has one.
Well, streaming services need to get on this as well. We talk a lot about features with they put, the Simpsons 4.3 aspect ratio on, and we need an alert if you've watched too many new episodes.
Yeah. Is it so hard to be like, the thing comes up like, are you still watching? And then when you hit yes, it goes, should you be though?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
It just gives you the mental health care plan questions to fill out just before you continue.
Just fill this out for us first. Yeah.
Yep. Be saving lives, Netflix. Come on.
Well, look, I mean, it's not all bad. We have the spreadsheet up on the Simpsons Index to, help you out there find the better episodes from the new eras to watch. And there is still some gold in them hills. Well, not quite gold, silver, tarnished bronze,
There's metals that are worth looking into.
Yeah.
Fool's gold, like the tiny ones that you get when you go on an excursion to Ballarat as a little memento.
And zinc. Who doesn't need zinc?
Well, the quality of a bronze medal from the Olympics. I saw Nigel Huston posted up that they're already tarnished 2 weeks out. But anyway, let's hook into this one. So this was from season 22, episode 20, and it's called Homer Scissorhands. First released in May of 2011, it was directed by Mark Kirkland, written by Peter Gaffney and Steve Vixen, who this was, for Steve Vixen, his last television writing credit before he passed away, unfortunately. And he was one of the developers of Hey Arnold, so big pedigree in the Nickelodeon world, but was at The Simpsons for his last few years.
I'm gonna feel so bad about trashing this episode.
I'm sure his family's not listening.
And if they are, we're sorry.
In this episode, so it's not really an A and a B story, it's kind of like two concurrent stories where, Homer discovers he has a flair and a talent for cutting people's hair, but having to listen to all them women complaining is just too much for him.
Wah, wah.
And in the other story, after a traumatic event, Milhouse decides that he's going to profess his love for Lisa, but she turns him down again. But in his rejection, he catches the interest of a girl called Taffy, played by Kristen Schaal.
Who is a horse?
Not in this episode, but in the original broadcast, they misspelt her name in the closing credits. They did 2 L's, not 2 A's. And so the next episode, the chalkboard gag opened up, it's Kristen Schaal, not Schaal.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, that was changed for all future streaming versions. Anyway, hey, Al, what did we think?
Oh man. Well, I was watching it, and my partner came by to watch as well before heading out, and we kind of just ended the thing, and I was like, "What do you reckon?" And he was like, "Yeah, boring as hell." And I think that's kind of the way that I would put it as well. I feel that really weirdly, my highlight was the opening gags in terms of the couch gag, and as well because I've been watching a lot of older episodes, seeing the newer sort of intro theme song kind of thing with all of the added things like Otto eating the plutonium rod and all of that stuff. That was kind of the highlight for me, unfortunately. Yeah, did you guys feel the same or?
Oh, look, we have a different perspective on these things because this is the era where they had the very long couch gags and then would either have an episode that was padded to hell to fill out time or an episode that was super rushed because they didn't have time.
Yeah.
This one's not really either. I feel like it's
again, being sort of our perspective of having seen so much of it, in comparison, it's fine.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
This is the problem. I've been saying lately, I feel like I've only seen too much of the Drek, and it's warped my perspective on what this show can be.
Yeah, because that's the thing. In the old days of the Index, we'd always have the classic to look forward to recalibrate. Oh, this is what a television show should be.
Yeah.
Then we have this. Look, I didn't think it was too bad, but yeah, it's just a lot of stuff is just really ill thought out. And yeah, like you said, B, just kind of boring. And, talking before about sort of the joke per minute rate of a classic Simpsons. And yeah, it's really not there. We've got just a lot of packing peanuts between stuff here.
Yeah, I also think what you said earlier about how the A and B story aren't connected. And I think that was something that really messed up the episode for me because it's I don't really care about either of these things. There's no common thread that's tying them together. Often when they have different A and B storylines, it's, there's some sort of theme about caring for the community or finding passion in your work or something like that. They usually have some sort of connector. And this, it's they feel like 2 completely different episode ideas, and they were like, oh, we don't have really enough for an episode, so let's just smush them together.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it's not like we start at the same place and then the kind of 2 storylines fork. It's just, Milhouse gets traumatized by seeing the first chapter of Finding Nemo, and that starts off that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wild. It's my first time hearing that there's a first chapter of Finding Nemo. Next, you're going to tell me there's a chapter 1 to Up.
Yes, and certainly there's no last chapter of Charlotte's Web that you should look into.
I feel like as well on that Milhouse story, I mean, there were a few sort of lines. I think there were 2 lines that I liked in this.
Yeah?
I think one of them was Milhouse saying, "It's my curse, subtlety," which felt very Milhouse. But I feel like a lot of the other characterization, and I mean, you guys have been able to see the sort of progression. It slowly fall from the grace of God and into hell. But it just feels like none of the characters, they're crude drawings of themselves in a way.
Yeah, truly. And how about you, BT? What stands out to you from this one?
Look, it's gonna be that third act. Because I was having an okay enough time with this one, and there are some jokes I did enjoy throughout, but ultimately I feel neither storyline has a great conclusion. Which kind of sucks, because, Lisa's storyline is, this Millhouse starts seeing this Kristen Schaal character, and she starts then following around, convinced there's some kind of ulterior motive. And then Millhouse has one of the heart moment, blow-ups of like, you don't want me, but you don't want me to be with anyone else. How miserable do I have to be for you to be happy? And you're like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
And then Lisa's just like, oh, maybe I kind of sort of like you. Here, I'm going to kiss you. And it's like, help me read the room here. But I'm like, that seems kind of toxic and fucked up.
Little bit, yeah.
And there are just other ways to do that. Like my simplest, just to skip right ahead to the what would you change, you could keep everything and just have one line when Millhouse is like, what do you want? Have Lisa say something like, I don't know, I'm 8.
Yeah.
And just kind of bring it back to, they're children. This is their first time grappling with any kind of emotion, especially maybe jealousy. So, I don't know. It seemed like that was the better end as I'm sitting there watching it and thinking of, that seems like an easier way to fix this.
A much better ending than, she kisses him, he falls off the cliff in...
and then gets lifted by an eagle. God, I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
And then they reference everything's coming up Millhouse, and it's like, oh, you've really admitted that you're not good anymore. Like, you know what I mean?
Because, you can imagine that in the writer's room, and then, I don't know, he falls off a cliff, an eagle saves him, everything's coming out Millhouse, that's lunch. Like,
self-referential Simpsons so rarely goes over well.
For real. Especially when it gets all catchphrasy like that as well. Like, how about you, B? What's something else that stands out to you from this episode?
Honestly, I think one of my favorite things was Lunch Lady Doris and Mole Man holding hands.
Yes.
And they're trying to fix their relationship. I was like, this is what the whole episode should have been about.
Yes.
Like, such a great idea to pair those two characters, and it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It just adds like a little bit of nice sort of backstory.
Yeah,
that's it.
Gives the world some flavor. And this is also, I was going through my notes and briefly had to try and remember why I'd written down Mole Man fucks. Because Lunch Lady Doris is like, he's dynamite in the sack, but everywhere else, man, or whatever the line is.
Salisbury steak in the sack, everywhere else, creamed corn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're decades into the show. Let's do some crazy shipping. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think that was the most fun. But I completely agree with BT that, like, why did they kind of wrapped up in a very, like, sort of way. And I just felt like the Lisa and Millhouse kiss didn't feel earned at all. I was just like, come on. Like, does she really? Is that really? Or was it more like a curiosity thing? Is it more like her obsession with Millhouse is more about her being seen rather than her actually liking him? Which I always felt that was where it was coming from with Lisa, because, she's a nerd. People ignore her except for Millhouse.
Well, there is a constant running thing of, feeling unseen by everybody. So, that works really well.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially in these two stories, which, like you said, B, kind of just were smushed together. And I feel like both of them actually had a bit more, like, time in them. I feel like there were elements that were kind of rushed. Yeah,
for real.
I could have bought this whole turn with Lisa if it was just built up a bit more. And similarly with the Homer story, he started his hairdressing salon and immediately is in regret mode.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's like, I feel like what's really fun about the previous episodes is they just like, they'll get an idea and they'll just keep pushing it. So you'll start with like a very simple thing, and then the escalation will just move the story further. And like, maybe it would have been better to have those two separate storylines as separate episodes, and then maybe the B storyline for the Millhouse thing would be Bart, because every time I felt like Bart came in, it was like, why the fuck is he here? Like, what? Like, he's just saying something sassy and then moving. Like, it just felt weird.
No, it's filling up Nancy Cartwright's, episode quota for real.
Contractual obligation.
But yeah, what about this Homer storyline? Because, like, I feel like that is such a great premise, and it just started out, and I feel it too, and it makes me want to go out and try hairdressing. I might be excellent at it. With Homer, a similar thing. Yeah, those who, once had it and lost it, desire it the most. But then it just moved into this women be talking thing so quickly.
And nothing developed from that. Like, there's kind of something to, now he kind of knows the secrets of all the men around him. him, and that
But
makes
that
it
goes
hard.
nowhere.
But yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't develop. That just stops there. It's like, this is uncomfortable. Now I know all your home life secrets. I was expecting Homer to like start exploiting that, or use that information for his own gain, or to do something with it. But
Yeah.
Like if you think about it as well, like I know they're not like bringing into Homer's history, but like in terms of when he was like Mr. X and like, telling all the secrets, like,
Yeah.
he'll be yapping just as much as the women of the town be
he
yapping.
loves to gossip.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's a missed opportunity to kind of, because it like almost seems like Homer's not at fault in any way in this episode. It's like he's actually just too good at hairdressing, and that's what's wrong, rather than like it actually being his own self, his own personality getting in the way of that.
Yeah, and to be fair, I did kind of like that Homer isn't becoming a bastard for a change, but then there's no story. So it's better to have him, have one of his personality quirks become a problem rather than have no real problem happen.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there is something to the idea that he's cursed with the knowledge as well, but it's just, it only serves that one scene, and then we're just back into the he can't stand listening to women talking angle of the story, and
Yeah, and it's also like, if they wanted to do that, like, that's fine, but make the B story about Marge not feeling heard by Homer.
Excellent.
I feel like that's what they would do in classic Simpsons. That's the kind of approach they would have.
Yeah.
they kind of hint at it as well, but then they just don't run with it. It's the same with the knowledge of everyone's foibles thing. It serves one scene and then it moves on.
Yeah, no, there's a great little heart moment that could have happened where Lisa walks up to Marge and says, I'm really confused. I never liked Milhouse before. Am I just being horrible to him? And Marge is like, sweetie, he's the one who always thought you were the greatest, and it was nice to be recognized even if you didn't return his feelings.
Yeah, of course. Like, it just, there's no connective tissue between the two stories. Like, the characters are just completely separately doing stuff. I don't know if it's also this thing of like, they're like, oh, well, we want to have this story with Marge and Homer, but we need to involve the kids somehow. And we can't fit them in this hairdressing story, so we're going to just make this other story.
Yeah, and once again, we're treading the Lisa Milhouse route, albeit it takes a different route with a girl finally being interested in Milhouse. But again, and to skip ahead to, is this reputation justified?
Is this reputation justified? Haven't done the theme song in ages.
I didn't actually write down their scores or anything, but I did see a constant complaint in amongst a bunch of other reviewers that Kristen Schaal was horribly underutilized for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's just absolutely killing it in the voiceover world and in the acting world, quite frankly, so moving on with the questionnaire, how was the wackiness in this episode? What were the cartoony elements that stood out to y'all?
I mean, I got a bunch. Lisa throws her, like, painting palette and it flips around like a frisbee.
Just on that opening scene, I actually really liked this as the way to kick off the story where, Lisa's painting Patty and Selma, and then Bart jumps in front and, hey, I ruined your painting. And she goes, I'm doing a painting. You're not going to, and then she paints Bart into it. I'm like, that's a good gag.
That was very silly.
Yeah.
But and then that I do also like, then gets the paint on one of their hair. I don't know which. And then, the attempt to fix it destroys it, and that's how Homer gets involved. Yeah, that all works.
Yeah.
It was also weird when, whichever, I'm going to say it's Patty, whatever, likes her haircut and is admiring it, and it's like, oh, it's like Posh Spice, and Homer's like, sure, I was going for Scary, and like, they look nothing alike. What are you talking about?
No, Scary's hairdo was more like what Patty had before.
Yeah,
Exactly.
originally.
Do you as people assume we don't know the haircuts of the Spice Girls?
I'm very aware of what they look like. I was a young teenage boy when they were popular.
Yep. Homer's brain is a super ball that can just pop out of his ear at any moment and bounce down the street.
That was an odd choice.
It was. I did kind of like when Milhouse does watch the chapter 1 of Finding Nemo and the fire brigade get called to like pry him out of the couch.
Yeah, did either of you have like a scary trigger movie growing up? Like not just a Disney opening 15 minutes or...
Well, my dad tried to show me the Tim Curry version when I was like about 10 years old, and just terrified of clowns ever since. And to be honest, Tim Curry is absolutely terrifying in that movie.
Oh yeah. That smile that is so charming without makeup just takes a whole new turn when he is wearing clown makeup.
Absolutely.
Yep, charm that will eat you.
So Home Alone 2, in a way, was also scary because it was the same guy.
Yeah, well, it contains another monster in a certain scene. But anyway, for me, The Dark Crystal was a huge trigger movie for me growing up. And because I loved the Muppet Babies, but on the VHS, there was always a preview of The Dark Crystal before it. So I'd always ask my family, fast forward Dark Crystal, fast forward Dark Crystal. And of course, whenever my brothers were putting it on for me, they would say, okay, it's fine. And then I'd run back in and as quickly run out because I was scared.
That's fair. For me, it was anything Child's Play. That little doll freaked me out. So there was, I think, Bride of Chucky was on, and I used to hide from that one. And I was old enough to know better. Creeped me out. But I've kind of overcome that. I've just watched the movies now and dulled myself to the fear.
No, I remember getting the nerve to watch Dark Crystal at age 15 and then going, oh, this is really boring.
Yeah.
Yup. All your villains are secretly boring, except for Tim Curry. He's charming as hell.
One of the wacky moments, Homer, after he has one of his breakdowns, starts running through the town cutting things with the scissors.
Yeah.
Even before that, he drinks like a whole thing of Barbicide and just has a line of, oh, why doesn't anything kill me?
Yeah. Oh, that was decent. Any cartoony moments stand out to you, B?
I guess, I don't know if it's necessarily wacky. It's just like added gags, like Mo dressed up as a bush when meeting
I like
Lisa on the
hat tilt.
Yeah. It's just, that's good as a confirmation that, Lisa's being really creepy right now.
Yeah, exactly. And then another one of Mo with the word killer behind. It's like, it just felt like they're trying to do the sign gags that were popular back then, but it's like not hitting the same way.
No,
like
which is
Duff,
a shame.
The first killer or something. And...
Yeah, and it will murder the competition or something like that. And I thought it was a shame because, I enjoyed the sight gag of Homer, seeing all the text boxes with everyone's foibles in them. And it's Police Chief Wiggum, I forget, Reverend
Addicted
Lovejoy.
To the internet.
Yeah, and Reverend Lovejoy choose the Bible bookmark, and then it was just Flanders. Stupid. I thought that was a really good joke, and I thought you could have still had Homer screaming and running out from it. The killer thing did nothing for me.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few select cartoony moments, but how was the heart in this episode?
I think they attempt to sort of have some heart towards the end with Marge and Homer of this kind of, oh, no one else could make me feel this beautiful. And then he washes her hair, and that's a nice moment and stuff.
That was a sweet ending.
But it just doesn't feel consistently earned. I know I keep saying this is, my screenwriting thing. I'm like, it needs to be earned. Where is the, because again, if they set up this B story where it's about Marge not being listened to, it would feel so much more earned rather than that one scene where she's like, are you even hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you can run the dual thing as well with, Homer's too tired not only to give her a hairdo, but also just to listen to her and to bring it to the ending. Yeah, that, even though, it is a nice way to end the episode, it, wasn't earned enough, Yeah,
I know. If you want my tears, you have to gain them with passion.
Yes.
Just on that quickly, though, like the episode title, there are multiple references to Edward Scissorhands throughout this. How do we like those?
Oh, look, I liked the visual of Maggie doing the little spin in the shower of hair.
Yeah. As gross as that is, it was much nicer in Edward Scissorhands with the snow, but whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, it was Maggie just being cute. That was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done more in a way.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know, even getting someone who looks like Edward Scissorhands in the chair, or being some rival or something. And he's like, someone's opened a rival salon across the road, and he's like, that'll show him. Or something like that would make it feel a bit more like...
Yeah. Homer's overworked, so he's starting to go a bit pale, and he's looking a bit more like Johnny Depp in that movie, except bald. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly.
Yeah, or even just, starts to feel more isolated because now he can't relate to his friends because he knows their secrets.
Oh, he's hiding in the roof and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't need it too much, but, an extra couple of bits wouldn't have been bad.
Yeah. But the heart of Lisa and Milhouse, we've seen ongoing relationship between them, and in the future they get together and have kids. But let's not think about those episodes right now.
Let's not.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered it before. It's an interesting new angle that there's actually someone that's interested in Milhouse, but it just doesn't have the time to grow.
No, that's the problem, because, when Lisa's stalking them and then shows up at Hold-Handing Lookout or whatever it's called.
I like this because of the playlist of like the various make-out point jokes that they've had throughout the run of the series. Like, we watched one the other week that had just friends peak, and I was like, yeah, that's a good one. So whoever this character's name is, I don't even know.
Taffy, whatever. Blew up at Milhouse like, it's always going to be about her. And I kind of thought there would at least be a thing of like, the whole time I've been hanging out with Milhouse, he won't shut up about you, Lisa. And that doesn't even happen. And Milhouse's reactions are like, why does this girl have that blow up? We don't spend enough time with them or with her to know why this even happens.
Well, I think as well about the underuse of Christian Scholl. Like, you could have done so much. You could have made her so like crazy, like really let her sort of be herself in that vibe, and like it just didn't make sense. She was like, oh, you'll always love her, and I was like, well, we haven't seen that. We've only seen Lisa's perspective. We haven't seen their perspective. I feel like
and like when Milhouse starts hanging out with Taffy, like he stops seeing Lisa altogether, like drops off entirely. So the idea that he's not over it is just not visually there in the story. And the other kind of thing is, Lisa starts being like, oh, that girl could get any boy she wanted. Why would she hang out with a Milhouse like Milhouse? And so it's kind of investigating. And I also kind of thought maybe she was going to find something, and maybe this other girl was just trying to make some other guy jealous. But then at least you'd have a heart moment of Milhouse being like, but you went through all that effort to find it. Obviously, you do care a little bit. Something.
Yeah, even a montage. Like, even if they had a montage of, like, Milhouse and Taffy sort of getting along, and then Milhouse, watching Lisa from across the playground. Or something like that. Like, there are really so many easy ways they could have made this a better episode.
No, that's it, and it just starts. It's what I was saying before. It just starts with starting with a simple idea and building on it. This one, it makes you go to too many leaps, which aren't like unreasonable leaps to make, but also like play these scenes out. We want to see what happens. And
we want to see
that she suddenly says that, oh, you're always talking about it. It's like, oh, okay. And when, it was kind of sweet, the build up that they had. She's like now carrying a bandolier full of asthma inhalers for him. And that's America. They're not cheap over there. Jeez.
Just carrying like $400 there.
Yeah. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Is this the show we know and love? Are these the characters we know and love?
The ideas, the execution of those ideas, nah.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you kind of got these two pictures of like, Milhouse gets a girlfriend, Lisa gets jealous, it's like, okay, cool, definitely feels like an episode. And same with Homer finds out he's really good at cutting hair. But again, like we said before, like, his downfall would be, but he's sharing all the secrets that the women are telling him, or, he's getting freaked out, or he's trying something too experimental, or trying to be too bold about it or something.
Yeah. No, it does sort of feel like an episode where the characters are mostly themselves. It's just the show as a whole isn't, putting in the love and care that it once did. Even though, like, I don't mind some of the joke telling, and especially, like, it feels so on character for me that Milhouse knows how to play the theremin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did quite like the line of, that theremin has paid for itself over and over again.
Yeah. Such a weird non sequitur, but I enjoy. And I like the Lisa's advice. Generally, don't try and put the word spew in a love song.
Yeah.
But what would we like to change? We've gone over a few ideas, but BT, what do you want to change about this episode?
Look, have Homer's plotline go somewhere else. Maybe there's like other barbers who are now jealous of Homer. Maybe the fact that they're not getting the gossip and that's like their lifeblood could be a thing, or something else. Like, it just kind of stops anything interesting. Just dries up completely. I like the concept, but we don't go anywhere with it. And just tweak that Lisa ending a little bit. You don't have to do terribly much, but change that last scene and you got a better episode. And yeah, quick montage of maybe Milhouse not shutting up about her would at least make sense or something.
Yeah. How about
I feel like we've already covered it all.
How about you, B?
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, my biggest note would just be separate the two storylines entirely, make them two different episodes, and focus on a Marge storyline about feeling not listened to, because that's a good, healthy vein of stuff that you can like dig out. You can have some great moments with Marge talking to other, like Patty and Selma, being like, Homer doesn't listen to me anymore, and they can be like, well, Homer helped me with this thing. You have all these like cool flips that you could do.
Yeah.
And if you separated the Lisa and Milhouse story, again, have Bart do something. Last time when Milhouse found someone that he was really into, like in season 3 or 4, he got really jealous and he was like, ew, why do you want to hang out with girls and stuff? Bring that back. Like have more time with him.
Because then you can have a Bart-Lisa team up where they like work at sabotaging and they can learn a lesson that wasn't a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that would be like, again, so much more fun. And I think, we should be the head writers of The Simpsons.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so many other business are getting into offshoring, outsource your writers over here in Australia. Exactly. We know what we're doing. Yeah, look, I mean, the big thing for me, and I totally agree with you, like separate these two stories, have confidence that they can both flesh out an episode, because, there's just so much more to the Lisa and Milhouse thing that it just gets left on the table with this version of it. And the Homer job thing, like, I want the money to be a motivation. We come back to this a lot, is that The Simpsons used to care about money. Like,
it used to be a huge thing. It's like constantly, we got to fix something. We got to, pay for something.
Yeah, exactly. And you just need a thing to go wrong with the house that, that they need to raise money for. And this is, the business is giving Homer a reason why he needs to stay into it, because we don't have a reason why he's going through all this trauma. I mean, we get a little bit of it with Police Chief Wiggum saying he'll make life difficult for him, and as annoying as it was, I did kind of like that scene where he's just constantly getting in the way and singing off key
I did
to
like
Homer.
that as well,
just being annoying, like But no, I totally agree with the money thing. It's like, it feels like it was, he gets offered $100 bill. I did like that line where he's like, how much is that in smackaroos? And Marge is like, 100. Like, that was really fun, but it just doesn't feel normal for them to just kind of be like, oh, well, Homer's not happy, let's quit this thing. Like, it could have been an opportunity for Homer, like, I recently watched the episode where he stays at the power plant because of the birth of Maggie. Like, where's that side of Homer, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like that episode where Marge becomes an Uber driver and hates it, but they don't need the money. So the whole thing, I think all our notes were like, so quit.
Yeah.
There's like literally no reason not to.
No, exactly. All right, well, it's time for our final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes.
B, do you have any other final notes, parts of this episode you want to mention that we didn't get to before we move on to the rankings?
No, I feel like we really sort of covered it all. And like, any Simpsons people, listening to this podcast, any current writers, I'm available for a small fee to give notes. I have done it for a few production companies. Please do it with The Simpsons, because it is something amazing and you're squandering it.
Do we get a finder's fee for that one?
I'll give you guys 10%.
Hell yeah.
But I just, no final notes, more jokes, be silly, push it slowly, escalation, steady escalation, make everything feel earned. It's my main note.
How about you, BT? Any other final notes?
Let's see. There's a bit where, when Bart ruins Lisa's painting, and she's like, I'll make you regret the day you're born. He's like, I already do. It's too close to Christmas. Yeah. Made me think of our friend Danny, who is like 3 days out from Christmas. That's got to be rough.
It made me think, like, what is his birthday?
December something, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure Simpsons.fandom.wiki have figured it
someone's
out.
put it together. There's a bit where Homer comes out to see that, they've ruined Patty's hair, and he's just thrilled because he's like, I get to enjoy this, but I'm not responsible. I'm like, okay, yeah. Cool. Yeah, Homer likens losing your hair like a beloved dog that died on your head. And like, that's a weird idea, but okay.
The flashback was a little weird as well. Like,
I didn't like that at all.
Pardon?
I didn't like the flashback at all, where like Homer's combing his hair and part of it comes out, so he just aggressively combs.
Yeah,
Weird.
that's it. And I mean, we've seen this joke a few times, and again, bring it back to Maggie Makes 3. That I think that joke is like the peak explanation of Homer's baldness.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to go back and do this joke, you got to equal or better it, and this one just fell short.
Yep. Marge has a line of when Homer's talking about opening his own salon, and he's like, well, Newsweek did say it was good to change careers right after they fired all their editors. I'm like, okay, that's a little subtle one. I like that. I can't remember who says it, but, one of the shops is closing, and it's like a honey store, and some of the guys like, I thought people would like to harvest their own honey. Boy, did they hate it.
Yeah,
Captain McAllister.
Yeah, it's the sea captain. And I was just like, why the hell is he the one?
I'm weird to make him the one, but I do find something odd about, they hated this.
Yeah.
There's a bit where, the montage of Homer cutting women's hair. Every time he spins the chair, it turns into a different character. I quite like that transition. That was good. Homer has the line of when he gets tired of it, it's like, be a pal and saw my hands off.
Yeah.
A little hard I had where, Lisa's like, I've done enough research on the computer about this random new woman, Kristen Charlotte, showed up. It's time to get boots on the ground. And smash cuts to her putting on little cute Wellingtons. And then she's like, you like my boots, to Bart? And he has a good line of, once you get past the ick factor, they're fine.
Yeah.
The sister ick factor. So be like, I can't say they're nice because you're my sister, but yes, they're nice. That was kind of cute. And my last note is I do like when they have the policeman's ball at the end, everyone's being announced by Bullhorn.
Yeah, by Sideshow Mel as well. This is a good use if you're Sideshow Mel. And I didn't even mind the gag of Disco Stu unaccompanied, Krusty with Disco Stu's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, that was a decent joke. Grandpa says to Patty and or Selma, you look good, open casket good. It's a hell of a compliment. I really liked this line, actually. Milhouse talking about Taffy is like, we got to second base on our walk around the baseball diamond.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and apparently Kirk, his dad, is getting bullied by a mini dachshund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like when I actually like the ending of Homer and Marge doing a little play to divert business over to Julio, who goes, all right, first 5 customers will get 10% off, and then the next 5 will hear secrets about the first 5.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right, it's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Look, it's just skirting over the line for me. It's getting a bronze. I think the jokes in this are fine enough to push it. And again, I've just had so much mediocre Simpsons that this one actually stands out as one that wasn't actively a bad time. So, bronze for me. What about you, BT?
Look, there are parts that want to bronze it. Again, I like some of the lines, but ultimately, if you're telling me a story, tell me a decent one. And the fact that I just feel like both storylines kind of flub out at the end. I think we usually say if it's going to be a bronze, you should probably want to see it again. And this one, I wouldn't be like, no. I'd be like, if someone said, oh, you want to see this again? Nah. So it's not a strong no, but it's still not something I'm going to seek out at all. So I think I am going to go with a participant. Close for me, but...
And B, please finish it off.
Yeah, I really feel like you guys are right in terms of it's towing the line between okay, but kind of fine. I don't know. I feel like the only benefit I would get from watching this again is just to come up with better ways to make it.
Yeah, and I think
that's a damning indictment.
The fact that we came up with several really does illustrate the problem.
And it is and that's just off the top of our heads. It's kind of like, come on now. We're not even getting paid for this.
Not yet.
Give it time. 10% too.
So what was that? Was that a participant for you?
Yeah, I think a participant.
All right. Well, yep, averaging out, that'll be a shiny participant, which, saying it out loud, that actually feels right for this one.
Yeah, shiny participant, dull bronze, somewhere in that vicinity.
All right, and now we're going to leave that old episode behind. God, what is it? 13-year-old episode behind now, and we're going to move on to something a bit more modern. We're going to watch an episode called "A Mid-Childhood Night's Dream" from the later season.
Yeah,
we will be back.
Kind of pumped. I think Ryan was hyping this one up.
Yeah, got a bit of buzz behind this one.
Yeah. All right.
And we are back, and we just watched a very recent episode. This was Season 35, Episode 2, A Mid-Childhood Night's Dream. First released in October of 2023, it was directed by Matthew Fornan, written by Carolyn Omine. In this episode, it's largely taking place in Marge's dreams, as she's recently gotten a lot of insecurities about Bart growing up and the children getting older and leaving the nest and all the things around that. And in the real world, she's dreaming a lot because she's very sick from eating hubcap hot dogs and drinking too much at Tuesday Friday Hands and all the rest. Hey, what do we think?
I need an emotional support Pepsi Max.
How's your emotional support? Nada, what was your cat's name? Sorry?
Nandor, yeah.
Nandor. What's that a reference to? Sorry.
Oh, that's like a reference to What We Do in the Shadows. It's one of the vampires who's just very silly, you know? But yeah, I really liked this episode. I think there was like some good gags. Like I wrote way more notes on this one. Like again, not quite hitting the laugh out loud sort of moments, but like still pretty good. And yeah, like I said, I just love any Marge episode. She's such an interesting character, and like being able to be in her thoughts and be in her dreams and like really sit with her concerns. Like there wasn't really a B story at all. Like it was just Marge, and like I loved it. I loved it for that, you know? And maybe it is this thing of like, you know, written by a woman. We're getting this perspective that is very genuine and coming from a real place.
And very rare across the 35 seasons. There are not a lot of Marge-centric episodes.
No, that's it.
But yeah, I think it's fair, you know, if anyone's going to level a criticism at this, it's a little light on the laughs, but good Lord, does it just pin you against the wall and just start just hitting you with those feels. God, I have so many hearts on my notes. I'm like a 14-year-old girl's math book.
Yeah, look, I mean, something that we really appreciate about the 30s so far, this era of the show, is there have been a lot more experimental episodes.
Yeah.
And usually that just results in them doing like an extended parody of a TV show or something like that. And, you know, the show's been going on for decades now. The thing that we keep saying is, absolutely, swing for the fences, try something new, go experimental. And to do something that is so quintessentially Simpsons, which is, Marge's proudest role of being a mother to these kids and having that called into question, and then doing it with these really abstract ways that just take advantage of the cartoon space and animation is just, it's pretty inspired. If not, very funny for a comedy show.
But this episode made me want to watch that season. It made me want to go back in because I was like, okay, maybe they're finding some rhythm in it because as much as like, I mean, there were fun sort of tiny little gags that you miss, like you might have missed if you didn't look too closely. Like I love the names of the files that she had. Like there was one where it was like, I have manly thumbs, which was a very interesting sort of like insight into Marge's insecurities.
I also had, is that guy from Dynasty dead, and the Rock's butt.
Yes. I think there was, Sports Are Dumb was another file that she had, which I liked.
Yeah, actually, just jumping in on that, I'm going to say the thing that stood out to me from this episode, for better or worse, is that because during her dreams, Lisa is kind of like a guide a bit to her and sort of doing a lot of the exposition and whatever, but it's in Lisa's character, but it's described as in, this is the way that Marge hears Lisa. Yeah. So it's very much Lisa's character, but it's going over the technical terms and because blah, blah. And
Scientist from a place.
It's like a Marge filter, which I really liked.
Yeah. It's something called Lucy dreaming.
Lucy dreaming, and then her being like some guy or whatever. I think like that really felt very Marge. Like it felt like her humor was being transposed over there, which was really nice.
Yeah. No, it's a clever thing to have to do a character's interpretation of another character and still have it feel correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you, B? What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
I think genuinely, yeah, the sort of nature of it being this like dream sequence, being more experimental, like really going cinematic. I mean, that opening memory scene where she's remembering playing with the kids in the backyard with the bubbles and them floating away. It is so harrowing, and I'm sure it speaks to a lot of people as well.
Oh yeah.
And like, yeah, it's just, I think it's paying off that they're making these bigger moves, because it's like with the show like The Simpsons, you've done everything. Why not try and break the form a bit?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, small things like Homer being an otter, just like the way that she sees Homer in her dreams, like as like all these different things, it really shows you kind of what kind of connection she has with Homer and why she's with him.
Yeah.
And the fact that Homer is sort of guiding her as well, and like is the emotional support in her dreams there. Like I feel like that was really nice and sweet.
Yeah, and it keeps things visually fresh as well.
Yeah.
Like there's always a what's Homer going to be next kind of feel.
Yeah,
Totally.
and the justification was really cute as well. You see him as an otter now because yesterday he was in a kiddie pool eating nachos on his stomach.
Yeah, exactly. And I also love that line he said when he's playing the didgeridoo, and he's like, yeah,
Yep.
this is a dream because in the waking world, I'm not that good at didgeridoo.
Yeah, and we get to see him as a potato, a clown, and sometimes a clown potato.
Mm-hmm.
The
And
scariest.
handsome as well, as like a rugged
I felt like
man.
that was a bit of a Rock crossover.
Why am I both the Property Brothers? No, don't worry.
I think Marge wants to fuck the Property Brothers.
Well, she's a red-blooded woman with desires.
BT, how about you? What stands out to you from this episode?
Maybe it's just the little glimpses back into the eras of The Simpsons we never really get to see. So a lot of this is focused on the memories, and, you know, we go back to when Bart's maybe probably about 4, given how old Lisa's meant to be. And yeah, the fact that there's even a line where, oh yeah, I've kind of forgot this era where Bart was the sweet one and Lisa was the terror. Because, you know, in that first sequence where I like she's going to the same grocery store as in the intro, but buys a little bubble gun.
Big bubble in Little China.
I missed that as well, damn. Yeah, and then goes home, and Bart wants to help with the shopping because, you know, I have young nephews, and if every time they see you carrying something, they want to help carry. And that Lisa was like, I made you a pitcher out of pudding. And Homer's like, yeah, I really had to clean up the ketchup one. And then Marge's like, oh, we're going to clean that up. And Lisa starts crying and having a bit of a
meltdown.
tantrum about it. It's like, yeah, of course, that it's exactly what would have happened. The fact that we never get to glimpse this, it's refreshing. It's the show we've always seen, and it feels very organic to it. We've never got to see this before. Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially like a recent-ish episode that we really liked was Barthood, where it sort of goes through Bart through the years and does like 4 or 5 year jumps, but skips 10. It's like, yeah, we've seen that. And it's just like coming to mind, it feels like at this stage we've done more future jump episodes than flashback ones. And yeah, you're right. Filling in the gaps would actually be really more satisfying at this time.
And of course, I would be remiss if I did not call attention to the Terminator reference, which also begs the question, is Marge's hair bone? What the hell?
Oh, yeah. Well, in a dream anyway.
Yeah, fair.
This gets away with a lot of wackiness because it was all a dream, but not it's an all a dream way either. This is very well written.
Yeah, we know, and it's more about memory and the lucid dreaming that allows her to access that.
Well, it also kind of solves our like sort of that whole does Marge have friends thing, because it's like it would feel inorganic for her to like open herself up about these things to someone, because she's like not that connected to certain people, but we can kind of see her completely unfiltered in this episode, kind of like how we did with Homer with his like vision quest and all of that stuff, you know?
No, solid point, because we just get deep into Marge's psyche and all her insecurities and stuff, and all the stuff that's normally bottled in, and the deep oven full of files, you know, as it were.
Yeah. I also love just like the relationship between Marge and Bart. I think having that is it's so sweet and it's so wholesome, but not in a way that's like, ugh, okay, you're trying to force something that's not there.
Not saccharine or forced or anything.
Well, the other unique choice that they make here is it's not Bart going for a, oh, you're embarrassing me, mum, sort of thing. It's like, oh, I've got an expectation to do something funny at the bounce-a-thon, and I need to follow through with that, mum. Like, this is who I am this week. And, like, I think that's just such more of an interesting angle than if they would have gone the whole, mum, I'm so embarrassed by you route.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's also so real because it's more about Bart becoming his own person and, like, the story in terms of the ending. It's like her being able to understand that and celebrate that Bart is his own person, like that, you know, her just being like, oh, my funny little guy, you know, she usually says my special little guy. It just like feels like she's really embracing him. She just continues to be the best mother ever. So
I know, right?
Yeah, but I agree, because I was really worried that was going to be, you know, they were going to have Bart not do the stunts and do the thumbs up like Marge wanted, and that would it would be fine, but I like they went with this route and had her accept what he wanted to do, because he's becoming his own person, and that it's about her accepting that, even though, you know, she'll always love him as special little / funny little guy.
Yeah. No, it was a way more interesting ending, and I was predicting that as well, that Bart would go, oh no, I'll do this one for mum, but they didn't, and I think it was way more effective.
He doesn't know what this means to her, so of course he doesn't.
No, so, you know, an episode that's mostly taking place in Dreamscape, what were some of the wacky moments that stood out to us? You know, the potato clowns of it all.
I think Marge getting on the scooter and trying to get to Bounce-a-thon and just throwing up in everyone's yard as she went.
I love that scene. Really shows her determination, but it is that wacky thing of like the bird's eye view, her slowly moving an inch forward, vomiting in a bush, inch forward, vomit in a bush.
Well, even signing up to the fucking scooter things where, those goddamn things, you got to get the app and the username you want taken.
Everything's an app now, but I super love just the biggest laugh I got was when she first gets in the car and she's still really sick, and the guy on the radio comes in and goes, "Get an egg sandwich from Joey Mayonnaise, where the hospitality is as warm as the mayonnaise." That killed me.
All of the gags about the food trying to make her throw up was so funny, like Homer messing up the rice cooker and stuff and being like, oh, it's okay, I'll moisten it with the last bit of eggnog.
This is like, I mean, we've all been in that moment where we've been so sick that the smell of any food is repulsive, and then taking it to the nth degree of, burnt rice, and then later on at the school there's a stand of summertime sushi. It's just all this stuff, extremely relatable. And just like when we talk about wackiness, talk about animation as well. They made Marge look fucking ill. This is
I have another maybe criticism, she looks dead. Like it is maybe a bit too much. She doesn't look like Simpsons pale yellow. She's basically white.
Although to be fair, I've had food poisoning a few times, and like you look back at a photo of yourself and you're like, Jesus Christ, how was I still living?
No, that's it. And I mean, put this in the playlist with Homer's giant hoagie that he's eating, because
oh, true.
Deathly looking Simpsons. But all the bar stuff was great. What other cartoony moments stood out to us?
Well, I just love the file, you know, the filing cabinet coming out of the oven and her getting sucked into, you know, the memories kind of.
The files,
I think that it was like, Marge is organized. She would keep her dreams in like a filing cabinet in her oven.
I love that it's a reoccurring bit as well. You know, it's very easy if you're going to do a mostly dream episode to not have memory or just do wacky shit for the sake of it, but there was just, it felt grounded in every sort of thing that they were doing, as wacky as it felt.
Definitely. And like, you know, comparatively to the last episode we watched, everything feels really earned, and the jokes don't feel as forced, I think. Like I kind of loved Bart being like, I'm starting to be known as a no holds bar comedy photos. Like, it's my brand. And, you know, thinking about how Bart evolves with us in terms of like, oh, now he's in the social media landscape. They've got their like mobile phones, like all of this stuff. Like, how does that affect Bart in this modern age is really cool.
Yeah, it is a way to sort of incorporate the mood of like what media is these days without it feeling like a cringy Simpsons do TikTok joke sort of thing. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Bit of wakiness I had is, Marge just like says to Homer, like, why aren't you sick? You ate the same things I did. And Homer's like, I'm what they medically call all throwed up.
I mean, like, yeah, just talking in D&D terms, you got to imagine that Homer's got a pretty high constitution save for this sort of shit.
Absolutely.
Very iron gut of eating crap his entire life.
It did make me think as well, because it's like, obviously Homer loves food and goes to all these crazy restaurants. Marge would be consuming some of that as well, and it's crazy we haven't seen her get sick by the heinous things that Homer's been eating these years.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, if you're going for a binge session at Tuesday or Friday Heads, again, I love that name, and then going to some sketchy guy for hubcap hot dogs. And I don't want to besmirch the good name of like cooking things on hubcaps, because me and BT, when we went to New Orleans, I think among the best burgers I've had in my life was cooked under a hubcap.
Really?
Clover Grill in New Orleans.
So good.
So good.
Amazing. Well, look, this was going to happen eventually. Let's talk about the heart of the episode. How are the bumps?
God. All of them.
Let's get through all your big heart note speech.
Come on, even the beginning when like all the bubbles freeze and pop, and I'm just like, okay, shit, this is what we're doing. Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, this is one because, that's another thing we've criticized, is that there in more recent seasons feels like a bit of a disconnect between the writers and the animators. This is one where I feel like everybody was working in tandem.
100%. When Bart's like having his first day at kindergarten, doesn't want to let go of Marge's hand, and hand holding becomes a really good riff kind of throughout.
Yeah.
When, Marge, one of the first memories she looks up, like, what was I thinking about yesterday? It's like, Bart's screaming. She kind of jumps into that, and you find out he's just got a splinter, and she just kind of holds his hands like, when do your hands get so big? I guess I haven't held it in a while. It was like,
that was so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Although I do like Homer's follow-up line of, no wonder you're upset. Bart is rude and full of splinters.
Like, again, it would have been such an easy route to make Bart like a piece of shit in this episode, but that he's just sort of
making him
He's just a kid.
Yeah. And then at the end when he goes, come on, let's go to the dunk tank. That gym teacher I don't like is in there. And then just grabs her hand and then have that moment.
That's so sweet. And that's an earned moment.
Marge
decides to let go of her sort of fear of losing her baby and just kind of, embracing him fully. And he still wants that relationship with her.
Yeah.
I also really like that little moment where she watches back when she said that she was going to the bouncing castle and she sees Lisa doing like a little happy dance. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that whole like, well, you have other kids, and also Homer's a great line, one of the versions of Homer. Don't be sad now. It's not happening now, so being sad about it now doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And it is a flip thing where, Marge is like, the pessimism is, it's just going to keep happening. They're going to get older and leave the nest. But then it flips it on its head. Well, Maggie's still a baby and I've still got a few years left with Lisa. And then, Homer's line of, you never know, Bart might knock up his high school girlfriend. And then
you'll have grandkids before Maggie's in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yep. The line that got like, ooh, damn, was Marge is all like, I should have treasured every time he held my hand because I don't remember when he stopped. And it's like, bam, damn.
Yeah, it's really well written, this episode. It's full of emotion, and you can just tell it's coming from such a genuine, real place. It doesn't feel forced at all.
No, absolutely. And look, I mean, we try to put up a pretty reliable guide of watching The Simpsons on thesimpsonsindex.com. But another good marker quality with modern Simpsons is just watch Carolyn Omine episodes. Like, seriously, she's done like some of our favorites.
She's done some clunkers too.
She has, but
Look, I was very curious who wrote this one. I'm very happy to hear that it was her. And it's moving that batting average right up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used a sports term.
Someone's been watching the Olympics. Yeah, look, I mean, has anyone else got any notes of heart that you want to mention?
I really liked Chief Wiggum telling her to get out of the dark place and like being like a cop.
Yeah.
And just like, because as soon as something's positive and then she's having that negative pattern of behavior, and Chief Wiggum's like, hey, don't go back to that dark place. And she's like, oh shit.
Yeah, which led to a joke I thought was initially weird, then I thought was funny, was like, why are you here? It's like, I don't know, maybe you think I'm attractive, the uniform and everything. And she goes, nah, I'm more of an Eddie.
Yeah, he's a
beautiful.
beautiful man.
Because, of course, there is also the theory that Eddie is actually Ralph's father because they've got the same haircut.
Yeah.
So Sarah Wiggum probably thought so too.
That Eddie, oh my.
Oh yeah, the bouncer thong. Is this a thing?
I could believe it is. That's good enough.
Yeah, I could believe it. In America, I don't
Yeah,
know.
the kids are doing like a race on like space hopper bouncy thingies, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
like the new, what's it called? The potato sack race.
Sure.
Safer than a potato sack, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be a thing. It just has to seem like it could be, and I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked it up. The first entry on Google is The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Again, plug to wikia.fandom.simpsons, whatever that stupid website name is. And then other versions of it, but a bounce-a-thon is, they're mostly looking like jumping castle things. Anyway, getting hung up on the semantics. Ultimately, does this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these characters we know and love? Is this a show we know and love?
Characters, yes, but show, no, but I mean that in a good way. This is, like we said, a new format, a new take, big swing, and yeah, like we said, I think that's great.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Like, I think, yeah, like I said before, sort of expanding on Marge and getting like more sort of deep into her character is like so interesting and it feels real and genuine. And I think that, yeah, it not feeling like a classic Simpsons episode is not necessarily a bad thing because given the show has been running for so long, you need change. It can't just constantly be this thing. And I think, I don't know, I haven't watched much of the ones in the last like maybe 5 years, but like I think that more focus on the characters and the heart of it and the sort of relationship dynamics is really where the Simpsons can shine.
Yeah, and this was an interesting thing to notice because we have felt like in the newer seasons they've backed away from Marge as Julie Kavner's voice is just, deteriorating. But I was curious with this one because she sounded fine to me. I was like, have I just watched enough new Simpsons that it doesn't sound
watched
unusual?
I think you
anymore?
have. It does sound raspy. It's
Okay.
raspy. But I think, probably the desensitization of the...
Yeah, I mean, for once, though, I felt like she was able to carry an entire episode and it was fine. Maybe it's because this one was done earlier in the season. They were like, let's get her now before, she gets worn out for the year or whatever. But
they're like, okay, this one's a very Marge-heavy episode, so we've got, everything you can need. We have vodka, we have morphine, we have strepsils, whatever you want. We're going to get you through this.
all the eggnog you need. Horrible thing to use for your voice. Do not use eggnog before.
Ew.
Anyway, yes, no, would you watch this one again?
Absolutely.
Yes, of course. I'm actually tempted to show my partner this episode because he didn't watch this one. So, like, it would be interesting to get his thoughts on it as well. Because, it is such a... It feels more like a movie. It feels more like, a journey, a standalone journey in itself, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Like, we, throw around the term zombie Simpsons a lot. And, one of the biggest sins that it just doesn't feel like it's trying. Yeah, this is the show trying. And, it's paid massive dividends.
Absolutely.
But, no episode's perfect. BT, what would you like to change about this one?
I mean, it's hard to work more jokes in, but if there's a criticism to be leveled on this one, it is a bit joke light. I mean, I like the ones that are there. I'm not sure where to work them in because that's really not what this is going for. And I'm also kind of largely okay with episodes that are going for less jokes, more heart or more story, so long as they then land that, which this does. So it's not a huge criticism, but it's an obvious one that if anyone said, oh, I didn't like that one, it's not funny, I'd understand why they would say that.
How about you, B? What would you like to change about this one?
Yeah, I, again, agree with BT on this one because I think, the emotional heart is so strong and so consistent and, everything's working the way that it should, like the machine's rolling forward yeah, just adding more like one-liners that are a bit more laugh out loud. Maybe an opportunity to show Marge's sense of humor, which we kind of get at the end where she laughs along at Bart's prank of putting the two bouncy balls as a butt. But
good bit.
Classic
yeah,
pod.
great bit. But like, yeah, could have done with a bit more of like what Marge thinks is funny, you know? Like, I love any time in an episode where Marge tries to tell a joke and she laughs at her own joke and everyone's like, what
Gives
the
that
hell?
little-
Yeah.
It's so sweet. And yeah, I think I missed a bit of that.
Yeah. It is hard to make a note other than just be more funny, but like, yeah. No, I think I'm just going to be repeating the same things. Is that, yeah, it's just, it is a comedy show at the, you know, in its conceit. So it's like, it's weird to go into the, like, even Marge Be Not Proud, which is a very emotional, gut-punchy episode, manages to get a whole lot of jokes and gags in there. And I mean, there's a few that don't work, like the thing with Nelson's mum where she's having her rant at Marge in there. That didn't work for me.
Oh, you mean the line, stick that in your G-string and make change?
Yeah, I was trying to find that because I did make that note and was like, ew.
I like the line, but yeah, the bit maybe didn't entirely work.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, this is kind of an inspired ep. I feel like I'd ruin it if I got my greasy mitts on it. Yeah. All right, it's time for our final notes.
I've already done the song.
Oh, I like the song.
Well, you gotta wait till next week.
Sorry, I just forgot to mention earlier is that, I don't know if you're aware, B, but Bart now has a new permanent 4th grade teacher.
Yeah, I did notice that. And then I think I was like, oh, is that because was it Julie Kavanaugh?
No.
It was Marsha Wallace.
Marsha Wallace, yeah, that's right. So I assumed that it was just that. I mean, I just wish she was funnier as well.
Yeah.
Just in general. I don't know if she's funny in other episodes.
In the episode where she came in, we kind of did have the criticism that she's a little too real. Like, even her design looks like it's based off a real person rather than design the character and then get the voice actor.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, which is fine because these designs are happening literally decades apart. So fair enough.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit noticeable.
But like, make her flawed or something. Like, Edna was kind of apathetic and like a bit of an alcoholic, you know? Like, I don't want Bart to have a supportive teacher. I guess, like, the funny thing is, you know, that she keeps saying things she's not supposed to out loud, but you could ham that up. Like, Simpsons is ham. Why don't you ham it up?
Yeah, that sort of seems like she hasn't been in very many episodes so far, but yeah, like, it is nice that we do have a consistent teacher for her now because in the years that it's been since Marsha Wallace passed away, it's just been various substitutes, and then like Ned Flanders was his teacher for a season there, and like, it's nice to know that we've got like a concrete character standing in.
Bit of stability.
But yeah, the bit of hey,
Cat.
Nando? Fuck, I've already forgot his name again. Nandor.
He's crying about food, so I picked him up so he could shut up.
I do that too, buddy.
Feel that. Yeah, but yeah, she's just got this reoccurring bit of constantly putting her foot in it, which even after only like 3 episodes we've seen her in, it's already gotten a bit old.
They just need to give us some other stuff.
Yeah, or like make it more crazy. Like, is she a chronic oversharer? Like, you know.
Yeah, but I think Kerry Washington, who's playing her, does a great job. Yeah, B, did you have any more notes about this episode? Parts you want to mention before we move on to the rankings?
Yeah, I really liked Homer referring to Dream Lisa as smart as old Sheldon.
Yeah. Can't wait for Old Sheldon, the new series coming to CBS or whatever.
And yeah, I don't know, like, just Marge doing the most, and Marge being the best mother and a mother that I wish I had.
Yeah.
You know, just fully supportive, willing to get on an electric scooter to go to her kids' bounce-a-thon. You know, like, it's crazy.
Hell or high water, pox or plague, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, BT?
I do like the beginning where they're in the grocery store and it's like, a mother's love is forever, but mother's love rat poison is on sale until tomorrow. Or something that was like, okay, that was weird and funny.
That was also Kerry Washington playing the
Nice.
role.
Marge wakes up for a dream and then Homer wakes up from his, but he's like, right before he wakes up, he's like, no, don't sue me, Dracula.
That got a huge laugh out of me, I gotta say.
Yeah, Marge has to go to Bounce-a-thon because she volunteered for 3 jobs on ptamarta.com.
Yes, ptamarta.com I wrote down as well, which I thought was great.
I missed that. That's awesome.
Yep. So there's a kind of a good like duology of moments where, Marge is going through her memories and is like seeing the meeting they had with Bart's teacher, and this is what kind of kicked things off for her. It's why she went out for drinks afterwards. And I'm, first of all, very glad that Bart wasn't in trouble, and it's just all about the teacher being like, oh, he's making the transition to 5th grade next year, and of course this is the end of his childhood. It's all going to be girls and pimples and drugs and chaos. And then later on in the episode where Marge is talking to the teacher, she's like, I just wigged out when you said all that stuff about his childhood ending. She's like, I didn't say that. I said he was going to 5th grade. And it's like, oh, I guess I kind of just, and this is one of those things where Marge put all that into her own head. And even the, constant gag of, oh, I guess he didn't say that thing about teenage boys needing deodorant as well. No, I said that. Go get him deodorant.
I feel so sorry for my mum who had to drop me off at school every day, and so many years I was using Lynx Africa. I didn't.
Look, you were using something. It's a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I smelt like, how did Miss Peyton put it? Nervous cab drivers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, just on that, like, and I want to go back and watch the episode because that, like, when she goes, oh, after I said middle school, you kind of just blanked out. Or in that initial dream sequence, when she says middle school, that's when the dream, like, gets this big, like, earthquake moment. And so, like, the sound goes boom.
And the teacher gets really, really big.
Yeah, and the screen starts shaking. It's like, that is, like, a really good way to do a dream version of real events and how, like, one interprets the world and stuff like inspired.
Yeah, definitely. There's a bit where Marge's like, what happens when my kids leave? I'll have to do something to fill the time. I'll have to get hobbies. I don't want an Etsy store.
Yeah.
The bit in Marge's dream where she's all like, why am I still having these crazy dreams? I know what's bothering me. And the bear is like running up behind her and she says, and it's not a bear. Sorry. I just enjoyed that.
Yeah, when Marge is awake and they're all getting ready for the Bounce Festival and Marge is talking about how she's going to get FOMO and Homer's like, yeah, I've got fear of missing out. It's called FOMO.
Yeah, or even his line of, missing out on things is great.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, in another one of the dream sequences, Homer refers to it, okay, Marge, you've just had a little bit of a brain hurricane. And I'm like, oh, yeah, feel that.
Oh yeah, that scene where the house, like she's walking around the house and like in the different rooms, she's going into each of her child's rooms and like feeling so small and it's empty and cobwebs and then the whole house falls apart. That was such a emotionally powerful like and visual sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it was great way to, again, give the animation a way to represent the emotion and, something you can only do in cartoons. Like, Simpsons in the early days, like, sort of prided themselves on being, kind of banal looking for an animation show, like, not really taking advantage of the cartoony space, but, like, that's good because, yeah, the dialogue and characters were able to thrive because of it. But, yeah, now in an episode where they do take advantage of it, it's great that it lived up to that, yeah.
Totally. And, like, it looks so gorgeous. Like, I mean, that field of the flowers and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I want that to be my desktop background or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, something you could only do in the modern Simpsons era as well with this level of animation for sure. Yeah, I think that's all my notes about it. Oh, yeah, just wanted to ask, have either of you been able to lucid dream at all before?
No, I've become aware I'm dreaming sometimes, but nothing fun then happens. I can't control shit.
Yeah.
I've frequently had the thing where, like, I'll figure it out because I'll open a book and it will just be random words and I'll be like, well, this only happens in dreams.
Oh, that's cool.
But I've then not proceeded to control anything, which, I should work on that.
I tried lucid dreaming when I was younger, but then I just kind of gave myself sleep paralysis, which kind of freaked me out. So then I didn't do it again.
Whoopsie doodle.
And I was like, oh no. But like often when I try to fall asleep, I'll like start dreaming of something. I'll like start thinking of something and let that sort of guide the dream, which I don't think is lucid dreaming, but you know, it's something.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been like, because I was curious because there was a Bob's Burgers episode which happened recently that was around lucid dreaming. I was like, is what they're saying in the episode real? And like, I looked into it and it's mostly sort of. Yeah. Just like when you wake up, write down immediately what happened. That's a good way to sort of train your brain to look for the signs of things that you do when you're lucid dreaming. And yeah, Beach, you're talking about like opening a book. For me, one of my triggers to know if I'm dreaming or not is like I am incapable of using a phone. Like every time I try and type something on the keyboard, it won't come out right, and I'll get frustrated with that. And yeah, I still haven't been able to use it successfully to lucid dream or whatever. But I just wake up going, I was dreaming that. God damn it!
Yeah.
Why didn't I find all the signs? Like all my childhood dogs being alive. And
I've also heard light switches won't work. So things like your brain won't change like the lighting in a room because of course it's not there.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't know how true that is.
So can you hear my cat crying or is it?
I did a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, really?
He's just wanting food and I'm like, he usually gets fed at 9:30. I don't know why he's being so crazy. But yeah.
He just wants to be on a podcast.
Yeah, he wants to be included. He has some thoughts on March.
Well, I mean, yeah, we've had a lot of dogs on the podcast, not a lot of cats.
Yeah, well, they don't talk a lot.
Yeah, this guy's really chatty.
We're looking out for any parrots who want to be on the podcast as well.
That'd be cool.
All right, it's time to rank this thing. BT, why don't you kick it off?
Man, this one is tough. I think a few more jokes, and I could have moved this right up to a cubic. Ultimately, I think this is a comedy show at the end of the day, and while I love that they went for, a big swing and something quite different, and the feels are all there and beautifully put together. Ultimately, it's a gold, which is still a fantastic rank, don't get me wrong. I think, if someone wanted to make the argument for cubic, it's definitely there. A couple more laughs, and I think I would have stepped over that line, but as it stands, cubic Sigourney. Sorry, gold. The other thing I meant to say. The whole thing, this is how much it's on my mind.
B.
Yeah, I completely agree with gold. I was thinking like, the emotional heart just does push it away from silver into gold. Again, the use of like the animation and all of that stuff as well, like just kind of pushes it to be, a nice classic. But if you compare it to things like Marge versus the Monorail, it doesn't really stack up. And I assume that one's a cubic zirconia, right?
Yep. Reviewed that with a community notice board.
Oh, nice. My brother-in-law and friends.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. It's a small world. But yeah, I think it's solid gold.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement there. This is, again, don't want to harp on it too much because it's not to the detriment. Yeah, it could have been funnier, but as compared to other Simpsons shows, it's not as funny compared to Krusty. But yeah, it's just inspired, and I really I am so looking forward to watching it again, just to watch it in a non-review capacity, so I can probably just enjoy some of the animation a bit more, which I think just because of note taking I might have missed. But like, even that, it's just
like some of the transitions and stuff in this are great.
Yeah,
I just remembered that. Yeah, the reason this sprung to mind, we talked about Ryan Duncan, who was a previous guest on episode 2 episodes ago, was talking about the reason this came up is The Simpsons have been nominated for an Emmy, not for this episode, but for like a different mediocre episode. It's like, no, he is 100% right. It should be this one.
Absolutely.
I haven't even seen the rest of the season, but this one is, swing it, the big swing for the fence, and I think it's amazing.
All right, well, that'll be unanimous gold, and it is now the second highest rated episode of the 30s for us. It's just getting slightly edged out by the very hilarious Highway to Well, which just got a shiny gold, but yeah, also standing very far and above
and that is
anything
also,
from the 20s.
That's also Carolyn Omine.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, this is actually one, B, if you got the time, check this out. It's Homer and Marge start competing pot dispensaries.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like
Yeah.
South Park, the recent South Park season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've written little episodes, which ones you mentioned
Okay.
to watch. So
No, absolutely. And it's a premise that I thought would have been so cringe and so terrible,
Yeah.
but they do a great job. Like Marge is working for like an actual like real sterile sort of pot clinic, but Homer's trying to give the
Authentic.
grungy experience of buying like from a dealer in the 90s.
oh, cool.
And
From
so
the dank.
yeah, so you got Otto coming over. There's Cheez-Its. Lenny's playing an unplugged bass in the corner.
And
It's-
Nintendo 64.
That sounds awesome.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the Simpsons Index today, B.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Have you got stuff to plug?
Yeah. Well, follow my Instagram at queen_B, KWEEN_BEA. And if you're in Melbourne, I have a weekly comedy room every Wednesday night at 7:30 called Grub Comedy. It's just a bunch of pro comedians trying new material, and it's just so much fun. It's like a little family gathering.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, because the Rat Club nights that you used to host up here were a lot of fun, and the
Yeah.
spirit of that's going down there too.
Yeah, trying to recreate it. But yeah, just like having access to all the great comedians in Melbourne, it's a really fun time.
Oh, wonderful. Hope to get down there sometime to check it out. Awesome comedy scene down in Melbourne. And BT, what if people want to hear more of us?
Well, I mean, they aren't lucid dreaming. They can right now go directly to patreon.com/sidequeststudios, and that is the blanket for everything we are doing. You can get over 180 exclusive podcasts. That's going to be things like Starring Springfield, where we watch movies that star cast members of The Simpsons, except when he's not. The show where we catch me up on all the episodes I missed. DVD and Dextras, where we check out the special features on all the classic DVD Simpsons episodes, and others.
Well, yeah, just to follow on from that, we're trying a bunch of experimental different podcasts over there. Like we got also Story of the Chalk, where me, BT, and Danny take the chalkboard gags and try to figure out what was the episode that led up to this. What's the hidden Simpsons episode? So we like to riff on that. And we like to give you a lot of bang for your buck over at the Patreon. So you get a new bonus podcast every single week. And voting rights for Starring Springfield. You get to suggest the movies for us to review over there. So as long as it stars a cast member of The Simpsons, we'll review it. B, is there any movies that come to mind fitting that criteria?
Mystery Men.
Yeah, we
Yep.
reviewed that. That was a bit of fun.
Yeah, I assume you would have, but
Yeah.
yeah. Good one.
Weirdly prescient.
Well ahead of the curve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone goes, Simpsons predicted it, but no, Mystery Men predicted it. Mystery Men
Absolutely.
does a lot of the stuff that the MCU would do later on. Yeah.
Mhm.
And speaking of the MCU, the other day we did a speed run of the MCU where we reviewed all the movies in under a minute each, and that was a lot of fun.
Whoa.
Yep, we did it.
Yeah, so we're having fun over there. Go check it out, patreon.com/sidequeststudios. But for now, that's it for the Simpsons Index this week. Once again, thank you so much, B.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, BT.
People should just call their mum.
Yeah. All right, and I'm your host, Elliot J. O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can also check out our other shows, like Pulp Fury Radio, our scripted fiction podcast, which tells all original stories across a range of pulp genres, and Thrones of Game, where we review Game of Thrones in reverse order. Links to those podcasts and more will be available in the show notes. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.